All right, we're gonna start back onto our back with our ring. If you don't have a ring, you can use a strap or you can just use your arms to pull it in. But you're gonna grab onto that ring, strap, or leg and pull it in for a stretch. The shoulders are shrugging down, lengthen the back of the neck, pull the belly in. Now the lower leg is long, straight on the floor. You could do a bent leg too if that felt better. But hold on to that lifted straight leg and drop it out to the side to open up the hip and get the inner thigh stretch. Shoulders shrug down, lengthen the back of the neck. Pull the leg in a little deeper. And then you're gonna bring it back up, cross over the center line, just crossing over towards the opposite shoulder. Keep the leg long and straight. Keep both hips on the floor. Shoulders are shrugging down. Take another deep breath in up high in the rib cage. And then bring the leg right back to center. We're gonna switch legs. So same stretch on the other side. Remember the lower leg on the ground can be bent if that feels a little better, but try to keep it straight to deepen the stretch. And with each exhale, try to pull that leg in a little deeper. Lengthen the back of the neck. Now hold on to that leg, ring or strap, and drop the leg out to the side. Open up the hip, shoulders shrug down. Still breathing, pulling the belly in. Take one more deep breath up high in the rib cage and then bring the leg up and cross over the center line, keeping both hips on the floor. Pull the leg in a little deeper. And then you can bring the leg right back to center. Now we're gonna take the foot down, put both feet down onto the floor where your knees are bent. If you have the ring, you're gonna hold it between your hands and squeeze. You could also squeeze a ball between your hands, or you could just do reaching arms. So we're gonna curl the upper spine up. So your head, shoulders come off the floor, you look into your belly, pulling the belly in. As you roll your upper spine back down to the floor, your arms reach way back overhead. So the arms are kind of parallel with the floor behind you. Then you're gonna lift your hips up. So you come up into a bridge. Lift the hips as high as you can. Take a deep breath at the top, press the toes into the floor, and then roll the spine all the way back down to the mat. Bring head and shoulders up off the floor. Squeeze in the ring, reaching longer arms. Head and shoulders fall down, arms lengthen back behind your head, and then lift the hips up off the floor. Keep the knees in line with the hips, don't let them wing out. Roll your spine back down to the floor, and then lift head and shoulders up for one more. Once your head and shoulders go back down to the floor, lengthen those arms behind you, and then lift the hips up. If you have that ball or ring, squeeze it tighter, and then slowly roll the spine down, keep hips down, just reach your arms straight to the ceiling. With your arms still to the ceiling, we're just moving the shoulder blades. Shoulder blades spread apart, and then shoulder blades pull together. Spreading apart and pulling together. And you're squeezing the ring, you're pulling the belly in, you're lengthening the back of the neck. Do one more movement to the scapula, and I want you to finish with the shoulder blades pulled together and slid down towards your hips. We're gonna do some bridging again. Squeeze your glutes and then peel your spine up, lift the hips up into bridge and just hold. Hold in there, reach longer arms, press harder into that ball or ring if you have it. Shoulders still slid down towards your hips, pull the belly in, press the toes to the floor, and then roll right back down to your rest. Now keep that ring between your hands, keep holding it. Position your pelvis so you're in neutral. So that's where your hip bones and pubic bone are gonna be on the same plane, and we're gonna maintain neutral as you do toe taps. So the legs are gonna come up to tabletop, knees in line with hips so they don't have to squeeze together just yet. And we're alternating these toe taps. One leg lowers, bring it back up, other leg lowers and bring it up. This movement is in the hip joint, not in the knees. And while we're alternating this leg movement, the low back should not be changing position, the pelvis should not be moving. If you want to work harder, bring both legs glued together and do the same thing. Still squeezing the ring. If you have the ball, squeeze the ball. Otherwise, just reach long arms. Now, if you want to work your abs even harder, curl the upper spine up, look into the belly, but that pelvis should not have changed position. The lumbar spine should still be in neutral. We just added the flexion of your upper spine. Keep squeezing the ring, pulling the belly in. Now lower the feet to where they just hover off the mat and hold. Squeeze legs together, pull the belly in deeper, press harder into that ring or the ball, and then you can rest back down. So you're gonna keep that ringer ball, just relax the arms, drop your knees to one side, just for a little spine twist, and then we'll do the same thing, knees to the other side. So we are gonna go into the 100, we're gonna take this ring and put it between the ankles. You can put the ball between the ankles if you have that. Legs start off at tabletop, and remember for the 100, they could always stay there. Curl up, look into the belly if you can, it's fine if you wanna keep your head and shoulders down, lengthen the legs out to straight, and then start pumping the arms. Inhaling for 5 counts, exhaling for 5. Using the upper back to slide the shoulders down towards the hips. While you're inhaling, you're watching your abs stay tight and pulled in. You're squeezing the glutes. You're pinching the sit bones together. You're always pulling up on the pelvic floor. Focus on the breath up high in the rib cage. Inhaling for 5. Exhaling for 5. Try to get the legs a little lower if you can, as long as you're not getting stressed in the low back. Inhaling for 5 full counts, and then exhaling for the 5 full counts. You have one more 10 count, reach longer arms, curl up higher. After you exhale, you can go ahead and rest down head and shoulders. Let's get rid of that ball or the ring. And you're gonna kick one leg to the ceiling, one leg stays straight onto the floor. We're doing leg circles. So that lifted leg is gonna start a circle, either direction is fine. Keep the pelvis steady, so both hip bones face the ceiling. Lengthen the back of the neck. If you needed to, you could keep that lower leg a little bent instead of keeping it straight if that felt better on the low back. Inhaling as you start, exhale as you finish. When you bring that leg up, you're gonna go in the opposite direction now, but try to do this with flexed feet, reaching out through the heels. Inhale as you start, exhale as you finish. Lengthen the back of the neck, shoulders shrug down. Press the arms into the floor, pulling the belly in. Inhaling as you start, exhale as you finish for one more circle. Now keep that leg straight, grab on and pull it in for one more stretch. Go ahead and switch, same thing on the other side. Opposite leg straight to the ceiling and start the circle. Inhale as you start, exhale as you finish. Pressing the shoulders down. Still reaching long arms down the mat. Keep that lower leg still a working leg. Next time you bring the leg to the ceiling, hold it up there, flex both feet and go in the opposite direction. Rolling through the left hip. Focus on that deep lateral rib cage breathing. Pull the belly in, pull up on the pelvic floor. You have one more circle. When the leg comes back to center, grab onto the straight leg and pull it in for a stretch. Bring both knees to bench with your feet flat onto the floor. We're gonna do the bridging again, but then adding the leg kicks. So rock your pelvis back so you feel the imprint. Parallel feet, arms are strong by your side. Go ahead and lift the hips up. Hold the hips up high. Kick one leg to the ceiling and hold it there. Keep it straight. You're gonna lower the leg, then lift it back up. Lower down, lift back up. Keeping the hips up, pressing the toes to the floor. Bring the foot back down to the floor. Hold your hips up high, take a deep breath, and then the other leg. Lower and lift. Try to get the legs straight, get the hips a little higher. Pulling the belly in deeper. Go ahead and rest on the foot, take a deep breath, and then slowly roll the spine back down until you rest. We're gonna do that bridge again. This time when you get the leg to the ceiling, hold it there. Lift the hips up, kick one leg to the ceiling and keep it there. Keep it long and straight, still breathing. Pull the belly in, roll the shoulders down and back. Hold a little bit higher in the hips if you can, reach for a longer leg. And then you're gonna rest that foot back down to the floor and we're gonna lift the other leg up and hold it. Get the hips up a little bit higher. Press the arms into the floor. Squeeze your glutes. Focus on that lower leg working harder to press down into the floor. And then go ahead and rest down. Slowly roll the spine back down until you rest. So now if you have a foam roller, put that underneath your feet. So now with the roller underneath your feet, we're gonna do a little bit quicker pace where we lift, lower. So parallel feet, hands by your side, lift the hips to the bridge, hold. Remember, you could just hold this. You don't even have to do the leg motion if you don't want to. Kick one leg to the ceiling, put that foot back to the floor, do the same on the other side. So as you're alternating these leg kicks, try to keep your pelvis level and try to keep the hips up as high as possible. If you have that roller underneath your feet, you're working hard to not let the roller creep away from you. So try to keep the roller in the same spot. Now think about your arms. They're pressing harder into the floor and they're reaching longer. You have one more on each side. Go ahead and have both feet to the floor. Take another deep breath and then slowly roll your spine back down into your rest. So go ahead and lengthen the legs. If you have the roller, you can have it just hanging out underneath your ankles, behind the backs of your ankles. Otherwise, both legs onto the floor. Reach your arms way back overhead next to your ears and lift the rib cage as high as you can. So you stretch your abdomen. We're going to go into some roll-ups here. So arms into the ceiling. Feel free to grab onto weights, a ring, a ball, or even your band if you want those extra props. But for roll-up, head and shoulders come off the floor, come all the way up, and stretch out over the legs. If you have that roller, it's okay if it's underneath your legs. Stack up straight, and then roll back down until you rest. Reaching arms to the ceiling, pull the ribs in, take a deep breath, and then coming all the way up off the floor and stretching over the legs. Stack up to straight, and then rolling back down. Arms to the ceiling, we'll do one more. This time when we're up, we're gonna stay up. If you have that ring, squeeze it tighter. If you have the ball, squeeze it. Now stack up to straight and stay straight. We're gonna get rid of the ring, but if you have the ball, keep the ball. If you have the roller, we're gonna put it behind your back. You could also do this with the ball. I think the ball actually feels more comfortable if you have that. But this roller or ball behind you is going to be right underneath your bottom ribs. So try to recline back onto it and hold it. If you don't have the ball or roller, you could just sit tall and then fall back, come back up, recline back, and then come up. This is if you don't have the ball or the roller, just don't kind of have sit backs. If you have the ball or roller, we're gonna get some extension and you're gonna fall back. You could do whatever you want with the arms. They could be behind your head, they could be reaching. You're gonna extend backwards over the ball or arc and stretch. I'll do the same thing with the ball so you can kind of see the placement of that too. If you have both, you can experiment with both and try to see which one you like better. And then coming back up. The goal is to get your spine to extend. You can hang out there the whole time. You could fall back and keep coming up, fall back, keep coming up for little repetitions to open up the abdominals and then to work. So if you want to, you can do reps. And again, if you don't have that ball or roller, you're just falling back into the C curve and then pulling back up. So just do 2 more reps of what you started. After you pull back up, you're gonna stay up. If you have that ball or roller behind you, you're gonna get rid of it. We're all gonna add a rotation with the half roll back. I'll just leave it back there. Your arms are reaching, you're pulling the belly in, your knees are bent. As you fall, you twist to one side and then come back up face front. Fall and go to the other side. Now be aware of the legs. Your feet are pressing to the floor. You're squeezing the knees together, making those inner thighs work hard. You're pulling the belly in. Focus on the lowest part of the abdomen, pulling the transverse abdominals in deeper. Good. One more twist on each side. And then when you come back to center, you can take a break if you need it. Otherwise, bring your hands together behind your head. Fall back halfway and just hold. You could just stay here, hang out, take breaks if you need it. If you can, add that rotation again. But we stay reclining on this one as you're rotating side to side. And you'll notice the weight of the arms overhead makes it so much harder on your abs. Make sure you're still squeezing the knees together. You're still pulling the belly in. One more twist on each side. And then when you face forward, come up and then sit tall. Keep your knees bent. Just make sure there's enough room on your mat behind you. And you're going to have your hands on your shins. C-curve your spine, shoulders shrug down. We're going into rolling like a ball. So when you roll, you just come to your shoulders, come right back up and balance on your hips. Don't let the feet touch the floor. So you got to come up to a little spot where you balance and then roll back again. Remember, you could just hold the start position. You don't have to keep rolling back and forth. Squeeze the knees together, pull the belly in deeper. We'll do one more. When you're up, you're gonna hold it. So stay in balance. Move your hands to the back of your thighs and stay here. We're gonna go into teaser from a seated position. So you're balanced on your hips, squeeze the knees together. If you can, extend your legs up just straight. It's okay if you want to stop at tabletop legs and let them hang out here, but if you can, keep them straight. And if you can, let go, but don't let the legs fall. Lift the rib cage higher, and if you're ready to challenge your balance, reach your arms up to the ceiling. Shoulders shrug down, your abs are tight and pulled in. Take one more deep breath, and then you can finally rest. So lengthen your legs to straight, but then open the legs about as wide as your mat. We're doing spine stretch forward, so visualize there's a wall right up against your spine. If it's hard to sit tall with a straight spine with straight legs, you could do a little bend in the knees. But our focus here is your upper spine, stretching forward, and then stacking right back up. You're trying to stay stable in the hips, trying not to move the pelvis or the lumbar spine. Make sure your legs are working legs, they're not lazy. Exhale forward, inhale, grow tall. We'll do one more, reach those arms longer, shoulders still slide down, and then stack back up. Keep your arms reaching. If you have weights, you could always grab onto those and hold them with your hands. The legs come closer together, you're sitting tall, and now you rotate from side to side. Exhale as you twist, inhale, face front. So that arm reaching back behind you, think opening up across the front of the chest, reaching longer arms away from center, and rotating through your neck too. So you're rotating, reaching back, looking out over that hand. Glue the legs together. Try to grow a little taller. You do one more twist on each side. And then when you face back to center, you're gonna hold it. Bring your hands down to the floor behind your hips. Point your feet, glue the legs together, and we're gonna lift the hips up. But feel free to keep your hips on the floor. They do not have to lift up. If you can, look up to the ceiling so your neck stays in neutral. Lift one leg up, lower down, lift the other leg up and lower down. You could just hold this plank. You do not have to keep your hips up and add the leg lift. You could put your hips back to the floor and do the leg lift. Hopefully you're still breathing. Exhale on that leg lift. Keep pushing the floor away. Do one more on each leg. After your hips get back to the floor, just fold forward over the legs and stretch. And we are going to go into our ab series next. So to get back down to the floor, we're going to go real slow. If you have something behind you, get rid of it. Legs are straight down onto the floor. Arms are reaching straight. And then slowly roll down to the mat. The slowest roll down you can make. Pulling the belly in, shoulders shrug down. Once you get down to the floor, bring the legs up to tabletop position. Adding the flexion of the upper spine is that extra challenge. If you want to, you can keep your head down if you're starting to feel a lot of stress in the neck. It's okay to do the whole series with your head and shoulders on the floor. But if you can, curl up, look into the belly, pull one leg in, opposite leg lengthens, and then switch. Every time that leg reaches long, think forcing air out of the lungs. Hopefully you're not gripping into the neck, so tell that upper back to work harder to slide the shoulder blades down towards your hips. Reach that leg longer like you're reaching out of the hips. We're going to glue the legs together now. Try to stay curled up if you can. As the legs reach forward, your arms extend back, and then you come back into your little ball. So inhale as you open, exhale, pull back in. Deep breath up high in the rib cage. Hopefully when those legs extend, you are squeezing the glutes in, pulling up on the pelvic floor. Constantly doing that full body scan, thinking about every muscle group is working hard. Now the last one is the hardest. Open up and hold it if you can. So arms are back, legs are forward, glue the legs together, pull the belly in, and then come back into center. Stay curled up for scissor kicks. One leg comes to your face, one leg falls to the floor, and then you switch. Exhale as you pull that leg in towards your chest, and with each pull, you're trying to tug it in a little tighter so you feel a deeper stretch. Try not to grip into your neck. If you can, reach out to the heels to deepen the stretch. Pull the belly in. Keep breathing. I know we have a tendency to hold our breath. One more on each side. You are going to finish with both legs at the ceiling with pointed feet. Your head gets to rest down to the floor, press the shoulders downward into the mat, and your hands are down by your side. Pay attention to your pelvis and your lumbar spine here. Wherever it is right now with the legs up, Try to maintain that position as the legs lower and lift. As the legs get lower, really pull the belly in, squeeze your glutes, and pull up on the pelvic floor. Inhale as the legs lower, exhale, lifting back up. Press the shoulders down, lengthen the back of the neck, and continue to take that deep breath up high in the rib cage. Focus on the inner thighs, squeezing the legs together. Just do 2 more if you can. After this last one, you're gonna bend the legs to tabletop, and we have our 5th exercise of the ab series is crisscross. So your fingers laced together behind your head, curl up if you can, looking into the belly, and then twist towards the bent leg, and then switch. Keep elbows wide, try to curl up higher if you can. Draw the navel in deeper. Every time you twist and bring the air out of the lungs. You have 1 more twist on each side, and then when you come back to center, you're just gonna stretch. So rest the feet to the floor, reach your arms way back overhead, and stretch. We're gonna go into our rollover next. So if you need to make this easier on yourself, you can use your ball or your roller, bridge up and put it underneath your hips. Because rollover, we are trying to bring those legs overhead towards your face, and you could just kind of hang out in this stretch. But if you know you have the strength in your core to bring those legs overhead, you can just start with your hips on the floor, legs straight to the ceiling. You could do little preps too by picking the hips up a little, dropping your hips down. Just be aware of your upper spine. We are trying to keep your neck in neutral, looking straight to the ceiling, shoulders pressing down to the floor. If you can, bring those legs all the way overhead, so your knees are right over your face, your legs are long and straight, and then you slowly roll the spine right back down to the floor. Try and do a couple of those. Aim for 4 of them. Legs come overhead, using your abs, squeeze the inner thighs together, and then slowly roll down. As you're rolling your spine down, don't let head and shoulders come up off the floor. If you wanted to work a little harder, you could add jackknife to this. So legs overhead for jackknife. Again, try to keep your neck in neutral, but then you pencil up towards the ceiling, reaching your toes up, and slowly roll the spine down without your head and shoulders coming up off the floor. Once the hips touch, take a deep breath, and then we do another one. So we're trying to do 4, maybe 2 rollovers, and then 2 jackknives. You guys look good. Rolling down, keeping the head down. After that last one, we're gonna hold. Legs are straight to the ceiling, and we're gonna go into corkscrew. So corkscrew is drawing a circle on the ceiling with your feet. You can reach to your toes or your heels, and then you draw that circle in the opposite direction. So don't draw a figure 8 on the ceiling. It's just a full circle. We stop, full circle in the opposite direction, and we keep alternating with each one. Now to work a little harder, we combined that circle with the rollover. You could take it or leave it. You can just keep the hips on the floor. You can take breaks if you need to. But if you can, we're gonna go into our rollover, tip over to one side of your back as you roll down through that side, swing the legs down and away from you, and then you're gonna come up on the other side of your back, center yourself, and then you reverse the direction. So we roll down one side of your spine, swing the legs around, bring the legs up and over from the other side. It is much harder to do that full rollover, so feel free just to do a couple rollovers down the center or just a couple corkscrews, and you can bring the legs up. I'll do one more in case you guys want to try it later too. Down and around, and we come up on the other side and back to center. To come out of it, you just roll down the middle of your spine, and then we get a rest. Good, let's just do a little relaxing stretch here. Cross one ankle over the opposite knee, and then pull it into your chest for a stretch. We'll do that same stretch on the other side. We're gonna go into some side leg series. So you can use your ball or your ring on this one. If you want, I'm gonna use the ring. You could stay down onto the floor too when you're on your side and just use that lower arm for neck support. You can prop yourself up onto your elbow. Spine is lined up with the back edge of the mat. Legs are forward slightly to help with the balance. But if you want to challenge your balance, draw them back to a straight line. You're pressing into the ball and ring if you have it, and the top leg is going to lift and lower. You're pulling the belly in, your shoulders are shrugging down out of the ears. Keep that lower leg tight and strong so it's still a working leg. Still breathing. And try not to grip up into your neck. Always narrowing the waistline. Inhaling and exhaling. Hold the leg at hip height, reach to the toes, and draw little circles. Right, remember that you could always just keep your hand on the floor if you didn't want to use that ball or ring. Try not to grip in your neck. Keep pushing the floor away with this lower arm. Now reach out to the heel and draw your circle in the opposite direction. Keep that leg at hip height. Keep the lower leg tight and strong. Pull the belly in deeper. Good, shoulders still shrugging down. Hold the leg at hip height. You're gonna swing the leg forward with a flex foot and then back with a pointed foot. Flexing on the kick forward, pointing on the way back. Try not to move your upper body. Think of that lower leg as your anchor, keeping it tight and strong. We have one more, still breathing. When you bring the legs right back to center, we're gonna lay all the way down onto our side. You can put the ball between your ankles, or you can put the ring between your ankles if you wanna work a little harder. You do wanna keep your ribs all the way down to the floor. Use that lower arm for neck support. And you're down the center of your mat or lined up with the back edge. You just wanna be down one long line. And you're gonna lift the legs, lower the legs. If you have that ring or ball, squeeze it tighter. Otherwise, your legs are just glued together. And keep both legs together as they lift and lower. That's good. Balance on that lower hip. So if you don't need that hand on the mat in front of you, take it over the top leg. Pulling the belly in, reach longer legs, pointing the feet, reaching to the toes. Now lift and hold. Squeeze a little tighter, lift a little higher, still breathing. And then you can rest back down. We're gonna roll over to the other side. So bring your ring or your ball with you. Line your spine up with the back edge of your mat. Prop yourself up onto the elbow, but remember you could lay all the way down onto the floor if you wanted to. Legs are forward slightly to help with the balance, but challenge yourself if you can and bring those legs back in line with the rest of the body. Pointing as you lift, flex as you lower. Keep trying to narrow the waistline. Shoulders are rolling down out of the ears, long neck. Imagine you're tightening that belt around your waist. Keep pressing into the ring or the ball. Hold the leg at hip height and draw small circles. Keep that lower leg still a working leg. Still breathing. Keep pressing harder into the ring or the ball if you have it without gripping into the neck. Flex the foot and go in the opposite direction. Don't let the lower leg get lazy. Focus on that deep lateral rib cage breathing too. It's hard to keep your abs tight and pulled in the whole time. Hold the leg at hip height, but still flex foot because you're gonna swing the leg forward and back. Try not to move the upper body. Flexing forward and then pointing the foot as you go back. Don't let the lower leg get lazy. Try not to sway the upper body. This is your last kick back behind you, then center the leg, lay down to the floor, and we're gonna put that ball or ring between your ankles if you have it. Otherwise, just glue the legs together. You wanna stack your hips, and you wanna be down a long, straight line down your mat. Lift both legs and lower. If you don't need that hand on the floor in front of you, you can bring it over the top leg to challenge your balance. Remember, you're trying to squeeze those legs together. Try not to grip into your neck. Squeeze the ring tighter too. Still breathing. Now lift both legs and hold it and squeeze a little tighter. Still breathing. And then you can rest back down. So go ahead and get rid of the ring on this one. If you have your roller, position it at the top of your mat above your head. And we're just gonna ignore it for the first one. So we're gonna do baby swan. Can't get this big old roller up here. So with the roller at the top of your mat, hopefully it won't roll away. The first one is baby swan. So your elbows are tucked by your side, legs are long and straight, and shoulders are shrugged down. You're just gonna lift the rib cage up and then lower back down. Using your back extensors to lift the rib cage and lower. As you're lifting and lowering, you're breathing and you're really pulling the belly in. You don't want the abdomen to press downward into the floor as you're lifting the rib cage up. But do focus on the breath expanding laterally into the ribs and lower. Just do one more and then lower down. Now, if you have the roller, extend your arms out to straight and your arms are reaching out over the roller. The roller is kind of underneath your wrists with the arms long and straight. You're gonna be lifting using your back. If you don't have the roller, you would just do our traditional swan that we always do. With your hands on the floor, you lift up and you extend, and then you lower all the way back down. If you have that roller, your arms are over it and you lift up, and then you lower right back down to the wrist. And again, lifting and lowering. That's good. Try not to grip in your neck. Your shoulders are shrugging down, your abs are tight and pulled in. Now lift up and hold it if you can. We're gonna stay here. Here's an extra challenge. You can just stay, hold, you can come out early if you want, but take one hand off the floor or the roller and reach it back behind you. Try to rotate through your neck and look at that hand with your eyes. Stay lifted. Come back to the roller or the floor with that hand and do the same thing on the other side. Try to lift a little higher, reaching longer arm behind you. Come back to the floor or the roller to center yourself, and then lower all the way back down. Then you're gonna ignore the roller if you have it, because we're gonna go into swimming. If you don't want to do the upper body motion, you could just do the legs. But lift everything up as high as you can, and then start swimming the arms and legs. You're breathing, you're pulling the belly in, your shoulders are shrugging down out of the ears. Focus on that breath up high in the rib cage. Take everything a little bit higher if you can. And then you're gonna hold everything still. Now take a break if you need to, rest down your upper body if you need to. You're gonna bend both knees, squeeze the heels together, and lift and lower the knees, while your upper body stays in the lifted extension. So keep reaching the arms, keep lifting the rib cage, and now we're just moving the lower body as you lift and lower the legs. Keep pressing the heels together, pull the belly in deeper, do one more lift with the legs, hold everything lifted, take one more deep breath, and then you can finally rest back down. Let's pick up your hips, go into a little child's pose stretch, and round your spine towards the ceiling. So we're gonna go into leg pull front where we're facing the floor. I want you to have your hands on the floor, or you could use that roller and put it underneath your wrist. Either one is fine. Hands could be on the floor or the roller. If you don't want to put the pressure on your wrist, you could come down to your elbows. If you can, we're going to hold a full plank. You could stay here, hold and breathe. If you need to, you could put your knees back to the floor. You can keep the knees on the floor too the whole time. We're going to alternate a leg lift. One leg up, lower down, lift the other leg up, and lower down. So as you're lifting the legs, alternating, you want your hips in that straight line between shoulders and heels. Don't drop your head and lift the hips. You also want to keep your neck in neutral. So you're looking to the floor between the hands and not looking down into the belly. Hopefully you're still breathing. Push the floor away with stronger arms so you feel the shoulder blades spread apart. Finish the last set, and then go ahead and rest your knees down to the floor, sit back to your heels, and go into a little child's pose stretch. We're going to do one more here, using the hands on the roller or the floor. Knees are now separated about as wide as your hips, and curl the toes under. Now this one, the knees up is optional. You can just keep the knees on the floor and alternate the leg lift. You won't really need the roller if you don't plan to lift the knees. So here's alternating easy version with the knees on the floor. Otherwise, you're going to lift the knees up. So if you have that roller underneath your hands, it just makes it a little bit harder on your shoulders to stay strong and stable. Alternating the leg lift, hollow out the abdomen, pulling the belly in. That's good. Don't let the hips get higher than your shoulders. Always bring that knee right back down underneath your hips. Knees just hover right off the mat. Finish up this last set. Once your knees get back down to the floor, you can go into that child's pose stretch one more time. We're going to go into some kneeling leg kicks. So in this one, You could put your hand on the roller if you have it, just to add that extra stability work in the shoulders. Stand tall on your knees, reach your arms out to the side. So if you have that roller and you plan to use it, obviously tip to the roller side and extend the opposite leg. You could just put your hand onto the floor. You could come down to seated, sitting on the hip. But this lifted leg is gonna go up and down, and every time you lift that leg, try to lift it a little higher. So the top arm that's reaching to the ceiling, if you don't wanna reach it up, you could bring it behind your head, hand behind the head, or hand on your hip. I always tell people if they put hand on the hip, feel your abdomen tighten underneath the fingertips. Try to get that leg a little higher, still breathing. Now lift the leg and hold it, get it up as high as you can, just stay there. Focus on your abductors. Your outer thigh is working so hard to get the leg a little higher. Lift a little higher and hold, get it a little higher, and then you can drop that leg all the way to the floor, but keep it straight. Take that reaching arm way overhead for a side bend stretch. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So if you choose to do the roller, bring it over to the other side. You could spin around on your mat too if you wanted to. Reach the arms out and then tip over to the floor of the roller, and the top leg is gonna go up and down. Remember, you have options with this top arm. It could be reaching, you could bend it, bring hand behind your head, or you could bring hand to your hip. Pull the belly in, roll the shoulders down and back. Try to get that leg a little higher if you can with each lift. Hopefully you're still breathing. Keep pushing the floor away with that lower arm. Narrow the waistline. Now lift that leg and just hold it there. Feel the burn. I know the leg is getting so heavy. Gravity's taking it down. Lift it a little higher. Still breathing. Longer leg. Lift the leg a little higher. Take one more deep breath. And then you can rest the leg. Take the reaching arm way overhead for a stretch. Come down to seated. We're going to keep that same hand on the roller if you have it, because we're going to go into mermaid with it. So if you don't have the hand on the roller, just obviously hand on the floor. We're sitting in the Z-sit pattern. If your hips or knees don't like this, you could sit with the legs straight out in front of you. But we start with the hand on the center of the roller, and then you tip over and stretch. So the roller kind of makes its way towards your elbow, and then you stack right back up to where you started. As you're falling over into that roller or towards the mat, the opposite hip is trying to stay close to the floor. You don't want to tip so far that the hip lifts up and you make a diagonal line through your spine. We're trying to make that lateral flexion, a deep side bend stretch for the mermaid, and then back up. The last one, I think we did maybe 5 here. Fall over, hold, then twist, look at the floor. That reaching arm can rest down to the roller or the floor if you want to hang out here for a breath. You're going to stay low as you rotate back to face front, and then lift yourself all the way up. And we're going to swing the leg to the other side and do the same thing on the other side. Bring your roller over to the other side if you're using it. Otherwise, just hand on the floor and then fall over and stretch. Make sure you're not gripping into the neck. You're not locking that elbow and jamming your shoulder up. Coming all the way back up. As you stretch away and feel the side bend stretch, keep that sit bone close to the floor. When you're ready, fall over, hold, add the rotation, hang out there for a breath if you want, twist back to face front, and then come all the way back up where you came from. All right, so we're gonna do a little confusing one. Maybe I'll prep you first. I'll prep you with some teaser, and then we're gonna go into boomerang. So obviously I've never taught boomerang in a virtual class, but we're gonna see how it goes. So let's get into teaser from floor up, and then we'll work into boomerang. So roll back onto your mat. Arms are straight to the ceiling. We'll do a couple preps to build up, and you can stop at whatever level you want and just keep going with that version. So head and shoulders are going to come up off the floor. As the spine lifts, one leg lifts. One leg will stay on the floor, one leg lifts. And then you lower all the way back down. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Lifting, other leg lifts up, and then you rest back down. We'll just do one more of those. Alternating the leg lift, still breathing. Shoulders shrug down. One more. Head and shoulders come up if you can't get the rest of your spine in that leg. And then all the way back down to the floor. So keep going with the single leg alternating leg lift if you want. Otherwise, glue both legs together. Head and shoulders come up, and legs and spine lift up into your full teaser. Hold for a breath at the top, and then slowly roll back down, reaching those arms up. Take a deep breath in. Head and shoulders lift first, and then spine and legs follow. And then you can rest back down. We'll do one more. I guess we would have to do two more for those that are doing the single leg because we want to be evened up. So let's just do one more. Lifting up. And then you get a rest back down to the floor. So go ahead if you need to, make this easier on yourself, hug your knees into your chest and rock yourself up. Otherwise do a roll up, coming all the way up off the floor and stretch out over the legs. So we will all be in this little hamstring stretch here, folding over straight legs, and then you stack back up. So if you remember rollover that we did earlier, we're gonna combine that into a boomerang. So it's a little confusing. You start with one ankle over the lower leg. You're gonna roll backwards into rollover, cross your ankles in the opposite direction, come up into teaser, circle your arms, reach arms back, and then fold over the legs. I know I can't hear you right now, but I know what you're thinking. I think I can hear you in my head. So start with one ankle, cross over the other. We'll start off real easy. Your hands are on the floor. You roll back down to the floor and reach your legs to the ceiling. You can you could choose to stay here, but if you can, bring those legs all the way overhead, cross your legs in the opposite direction, roll your spine back down to the floor, and then you're gonna curl your spine up so you come up into teaser. You could just do head and shoulders off the floor and keep those legs to the ceiling. This is where it gets really hard to hold. You're gonna circle those arms behind you, but don't let those legs fall. Reach your arms back. Now the legs get the fall as you fold forward and reach. Now we get to start all over. So if you notice, the opposite leg is now on top. Remember, you can just hang out and watch too, but we're gonna have one leg on top of the lower leg. You roll back onto your back. Legs can just stop here at the ceiling if you want. If you can, go into that full rollover. Cross your legs in the opposite direction. Roll the spine down to the floor, keeping your head down. Bring yourself up into that teaser. Hold. It's okay if you can't hold that full teaser, but circle those arms back. Reach the arms behind you. Then you get to drop the legs and fold forward. Now the full boomerang is usually a lot faster than that, so I won't increase the speed unless you want to on your own, you can. Otherwise, we're gonna just do one more full set, which is basically two more rollovers. Remember, you could just do rollovers, you could just practice teaser. Roll over, legs come overhead, cross in the opposite direction, roll your spine down, pull yourself up into teaser. While you're in your teaser, circle those arms, see that shoulder stretch, and then drop the legs, fold forward. Stack up straight, roll back onto your back. You can stop with those legs at the ceiling, otherwise go to the full rollover, cross the legs in the opposite direction, roll the spine down, come up into your teaser, hold the teaser as you circle those arms, and then you get to drop the legs and fold forward. Good job. So now we're gonna come up onto our hands and knees. We'll just do a little flexion, a little cat-cow stretch, opposite arm reach, and we'll do a thigh stretch there too in the middle. So cat-cow, wrists are underneath your shoulders, knees are underneath your hips, round your spine towards the ceiling, and then drop your rib cage down, reaching forward and tailbone up. Rounding, feel the shoulder blades spread apart, and then sinking down, dropping the ribs, reaching tailbone and forehead up. Your last one, deep breath into the back of the rib cage, and then exhale. When you come back to neutral, you want to be in a straight line through your spine. You're facing the floor right between your hands. One leg, either one reaches back, and then reach the opposite arm. So when you're reaching those opposite limbs, you're trying to stay balanced. Good. Try not to lift those limbs too high that your low back goes into a swaying position. You want to stay long and straight through your spine. When you're ready, you're going to rest down the hand and knee. Do the same thing on the other side. Focus on the deep breath of high rib cage. Remember, your lower arm is still strong, pushing the floor away. Try not to grip in your neck. Draw the navel in deeper. Bring the hand and knee back down to the floor. Now stand tall on your knees. If this one bothers the knees, you could just stay here, hold. With the feet, they could be flat on the mat like this, or they could be curled under. Either one is fine. Your hands could be by your side, or you could squeeze your ring or your ball. I'll just do ball because it's closer to me. But you're gonna squeeze as tight as possible with that ring or ball, fall back into a thigh stretch, and then return back up. And you fix the feet however they feel comfortable. Remember, if this bothers the knees, you could always skip it. You could just stand tall, or you could do the seated version. It's just where you hinge back from the hips. As you fall back, you're still activating those inner thighs like you're squeezing them closer together. Inhale as you fall back, exhale up. Try not to grip into your neck. Do one more, and then you can return right back up and stay up. So to get rid of the ringer ball, we're gonna come into a standing position, fold into straight legs, and we're gonna go into some sets of our push-ups. It's okay if you need to bend your knees to get into those legs, but then slowly roll your spine up with your abs still tight and pulled in. Stand at the back edge of your mat, reach your arms to the ceiling, and then round your spine all the way back down. It's okay if you need to bend the knees to get down here, but walk your hands all the way out to the top of your mat. You can choose to stay here and hold a plank. You could drop to your knees if you need to make this easier. We're gonna try to go for 6 push-ups. Bend the elbows on your inhale, exhale, push the floor away. Every time you push the floor away and lengthen those arms, think about your upper back, spreading the shoulder blades apart. You still want that feeling of reaching back of the head to the ceiling behind you, so you're not dropping chin to your chest or sinking face to the floor. After you walk your hands all the way back to your feet, hold yourself into that stretch, make sure your abs are tight and pulled in, and then come all the way back up to standing. We're gonna do one more set. Feel free to do more push-ups if you want. You can stay here and just take a breather. You could always go back down to a child's pose stretch. When you're ready, walk all the way up to the top of your mat, still breathing. Bend the elbows on the inhale, exhale, push the floor away. Think about trying to narrow the waistline and use your breath too to help you get through it. You're exhaling, forcing air out of the lungs. After you do that last push-up, drop down to your knees, sit back into a little child's pose stretch, and lengthen the arms. We're gonna go into a stretch here. If you're standing, you can stay standing, or you can stay on your knees. If you don't wanna be on your knees, come up to standing. So if you're on your knees, we're going to lunge. We did this one on Thursday. You're gonna take one foot and put it forward, and kind of lean forward into this stretch. So if you're standing, you'll just have the forward leg bent, back leg straight. And then we'll transition into a straight front leg. But just hang out in this thigh stretch for a moment. Still breathing. Shoulders down and back. Now we're shifting our way backwards to lengthen the front leg. You can also flex that foot too to deepen the stretch. Still breathe. Shoulders down out of the ears. Constantly repeating myself over and over. You can come back up. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So opposite foot forward. Keep that front knee bent as you sink your hips forward. Feel that deep hip stretch. Still breathing, shoulders down out of the ears. Oh, shift your weight back so you get the hamstring stretch to that front leg. Lean deeper into it if you can. Deepen that hamstring stretch. Good job. After that, just sit however you're comfortable. I always end with a side bench stretch, some shoulder shrugs, neck rolls. So reach arms up to the ceiling, grab onto one wrist, and pull it to the opposite side. We'll do the same thing to the other side. When you center yourself, bring your arms down, bring your shoulders down as hard as you can, and then shrug them up, and then pull them down as hard as you can. One more. And then keep those shoulders locked down all day. If you want, you can do a couple neck rolls, and then we'll do the same thing in the opposite direction. But after that, you guys are all done. You did great.